This country was built by immigrants and their children and their grandchildren. And new generations of immigrants continue to build its future. We are here to honor the past generations and welcome the present and the future generations. The new Americans Expo offers many things to all immigrants and their families. It's a community forum to discuss issues that are most important to our immigrant communities. It provides an array of services offered by more than 75 exhibitors representing government agencies, nonprofits, small businesses, and corporations. We are having music and prizes from our many generous sponsors. But most of all, the new Americans Expo is a place where immigrants can feel welcome and embraced. Thanks to the leadership of County Executive I. Leggett, Montgomery County has a reputation for welcoming immigrants. It's one of the things that makes Montgomery County such a dynamic place. And we are proud that it will be the home of the new Americans Expo. We invite you to join us on Sunday from noon to 6 p.m. here at the Civic Building. I would now like to present a man who has been supportive from the beginning of all this adventure, Bruce Adams, Director of the Montgomery County Office of Community Partnerships, who has been behind this project since I first presented it to him. And without him, none of this would be possible. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Has anyone here been able to say no to Christina? No, it's not possible. So she came with this beautiful idea, and we're very pleased to support her. I want to say that Mimi Hassanin is also here. She is the County Executive's liaison to the Middle Eastern community, works with Nestor, Julian, and me. So County Executive Ike Leggett has a very simple proposition. Montgomery County wants to be the most welcoming community in all of America. That's simple. Everybody can understand that. And this New Americans Expo is all about making Montgomery County this most welcoming community. And it's just the way County Executive Leggett likes to work. It was an idea from the private sector. It was an idea from the community. Christina came to me and we said, great, that's fantastic. What can we do to help? Because this is going to be like a one-stop shop for new immigrants who have. I was born here, so I can't even imagine the issues of coming to a place where you don't speak the language, having to deal with all the legal complexities, having to learn not just the language, but learn computers and social media, and trying to understand what it required to make sure that your family has the health and the housing and the food that they need, and then trying to figure out what it means to be a citizen. And you can come to one place on Sunday afternoon and learn all that. So let's thank not just Christina, but Christina, the whole team that she's put together has created this incredible opportunity for the residents of Montgomery County. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you very much. Now, let me introduce to you Mr. Will Jawando. I have here a little note about it. You are a Silver Spring resident and son of a Nigerian immigrant and a Democratic candidate for the District 8. So please use wisely your 3 minutes, no politics. Thank you.
Thank you very much, yes. I am running for Congress, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here as the son of a Nigerian immigrant who came here to this area. My mom's a white woman from Kansas. They met in college, and like many families, settled here because of the great opportunity and diversity this area offers to so many. And it wasn't an easy transition. You can imagine coming here, not knowing people, not knowing where to live, not knowing how to navigate the community. But we've been a welcoming community for so long, and I'm proud to be here in Montgomery County on the cutting edge of where America's going, right? Maryland is one of 13 states where communities of color make up more than 40% of the population. By 2044, the United States will be majority people of color. So this is not something that we can say is not happening, it's already here. And so the idea that of welcoming immigrants and welcoming them into our America, which has always been the story of America. I was talking earlier to Diana, we've always been a nation of immigrants. Traditionally, it was white immigrants who faced the same kind of discrimination, whether you were Irish or you were Jewish or over time, or Polish or whatever it was. And now we're in the transition where most of the immigrants are people of color. Latinos and Asians are the fastest growing immigrants in this country. African immigrants, and which I count myself, there's no more African immigrants anywhere in the United States than in this area, in the District of Maryland and Virginia. So we are a hub for this activity, and it just makes me proud of our county executive, proud of our state, that we're leading and on the cutting edge of this. And we're not just strength in numbers, we're doing things. African immigrants, for example, come here with the highest education of any immigrant. They're coming with advanced degrees, and they're coming with doctors and lawyers and engineers. Latino immigrants are building businesses faster than anyone else, Latino and Asian immigrants. And all the new job growth is coming from Latino and Asian Americans primarily. Over the next 20 years, that's where most of the workforce is going to come from. As the baby boomers retire, we're not going to be able to fill jobs if immigrants and communities of color are not a part of that. So it's not only the right thing to do, it's imperative, and it's where we're headed. And this is a recognition of that. And finally, I'll say I believe that we're stronger together. It's really exciting. I was happy to come to this because it's not an either or. It's not you're over there and I'm over here. It's how do we live in America together, the place we all love, that all of our children call home, all the second and third generation children, and succeed. Why do people come to America? They want to have a safe environment, they want to get a good education, they want to provide for their family, and they want to retire with dignity. That's what people want all across the world, and that's what America has offered for so many. It's let this son of a Nigerian immigrant work in the White House. I'm proud to be here with Dr. Ramirez, who's also worked in the White House way before me. I worked in the Obama White House, but who would have thought, growing up poor in a one-room apartment in Long Branch 25, 30 years ago, that I would be working in the White House. And apparently I'm on the front of the Washington Post today. So I haven't seen it yet. But who would have thought that? And only in this area could that happen. Only in this country could that happen. So I'm excited to be here. This is really the cutting edge, and I look forward to supporting it in every way possible and talking about how strong this community and vibrant it is. And it's not an either or, it's a together. So thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you very much. See, together we can work better. Definitely, it's a great message. Thank you for that. And now, we are very proud to have received the acceptance of our invitation to Dr. Henry Ramirez, son of a Mexican immigrant and former advisor of President Nixon and President Reagan, if I'm not wrong. So we are very proud to have you here because this is part of why all this started years ago. So, Dr. Ramirez, the microphone is yours. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. Is this thing working well?
Yes.
Can you hear me well? I used to teach Latin, and the word migro, migrare, migravi, migratus was the word from which we get the word migrant. Also, the word new comes from Latin word also. American, I don't know where it comes from, but it sounds good. It's a pretty word. For one thing, it starts with the letter A. I also taught, as you know, Latin. And I taught Greek. And I studied history from the year 3000 BC till today. And in my learning of the world, I remember that people left a country called Egypt and they walked. They didn't have cars. They had no buses. and they walked to a new land. And then I learned that throughout history in Europe, the Visigoths, the Ostrogoths, the Anglos, and other groups went into England, they went to Spain, went to Italy from Germany. And then in my lifetime, I learned that there were some people in California, and we were called Mexicans. And then it happened that the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights here in Washington recruited me to come to Washington to do studies on who these Mexicans were. Because here in Washington, you could stand in the White House for a whole year and never see another Mexican. That was in 1968. And so, they gave me a title at the Civil Rights Commission. They called me the chief. No feather, just chief of the Mexican American Studies Division. And they said, tell us who those Mexicans are, because here in Washington, we have no information on who they are. So I did a study of education, and I counted something like 5 million Mexican students in the Southwest, from grade 1 to grade 12. After that, President Nixon asked me to come to work for him. And he asked me, what should we do for those Mexicans that I got to know when I was a young man in Whittier? There were 200 Mexican families that were around the little store that my parents had. I got to know them, good people, hardworking people. They were very faithful to God. And I worked with them. I picked oranges, and I picked tomatoes with them, because I was very poor. But you know, here in Washington, nobody knows who they are. All of us know that this country is either red, or it's black, or it's white. And that's the way people were counted after the revolution. The black people, the white people, and the red people. But he said, no one counted brown people. So I said, count us. In the census of 1970, the Mexicans were counted for the first time. And then I told them, now that we've done that, let's count all the Mexicans in the federal government by GS level and by positions that they hold and contracts that they get, or grants. So he said, all right, let's do that. And then I said, but you know what? Nobody knows who the Mexicans are in Chicago and Michigan, Kansas, California, Texas. So let's make the people in Boston aware of who we are. So I gave him a memo, and I asked him, please sign that proclamation that the Democrats passed in Congress, but Lyndon Johnson didn't make it a law because he was very busy packing his suitcases to go home. And so I told Nixon, you sign it. And so Nixon signed the first Hispanic Heritage Week. Then I told him, now that you've done that, but we need to have a Sunday service in the White House. And I got Archbishop Manderos to come and say the first Mass in the White House. Then I said to him, we don't have Mexican executives in Washington. We need at least 100 of them. And he said, okay. So we got the U.S. Treasurer, Ramon Bañuelos, Phil Sanchez, the head of OEO, on and on and on, almost 80 people, high-level positions. And then I said to him, now we need to do some more things. And then he said to me, then, you know, I like Mexicans. I got to know them very well. But they only vote for me 5% of the time. So that's all I get. And I said, Mr. President, you do these 5 things that I'm telling you, and I'll get you 25% of the Mexican vote. In 1972, I got him 30%. After that, the Mexicans knew that there were 2 parties. And the word Democrat didn't mean you had to be a Democrat. It meant that that was one form of government as compared to dictatorship and compared to kings. But Respublica from Latin means the things of the public. And now we know that these Mexicans of the Southwest are now all over the country. But the other part of the story that you don't know is that there were lots of Mexicans that migrated from the interior of Mexico for the first time in history between 1913 and 1930. There were 3 dictators in Mexico: Carranza, Obregón, Calles, and he persecuted the Catholics, killed thousands of them. And their armies took all the food until the people couldn't eat and they didn't have work. So 2 million peasants. A few were educated, like the parents of my wife, my parents, but most of them were illiterate. They'd never gone to school. So they could not write back to their relatives and say, we arrived in Chicago. They could not make phone calls because there were no phones in the little ranches in interior Mexico. And there were no buses. There were no airplanes. So they couldn't go back. And they became the unknown, forgotten people of the Southwest. And I am a son of those 2 million, and my wife is a daughter of those 2 million. And now we are something like 30 million in this country. And that's why I wrote the book, A Chicano in the White House. Thank you.
Wow. It is important to see a little bit back to understand today, correct? It is so important. So we are privileged. Thank you, Dr. Ramirez, for being here with us.
Thank you. It is an honor and a privilege to be here, and the Maryland Republican Party is very excited to be included and participating in this event. We are really excited and engaged about the opportunity to interact and meet with these new Americans, these new immigrants, to let them know that that we are there and we do welcome them. So we're very excited for these opportunities. Listening to Will speak earlier, I am also a child of immigrants and only another generation out. My grandparents came from Japan and settled in California. So again, I think many of us, we all at some point, no matter how waspish you may be or whatever, trace your roots back to some immigrant who came over at some point in time. Some of us very recently, some of us a few generations, some of us many generations. But as Will pointed out, we are a country of immigrants. And we want to make sure that they all feel welcome and a part of our community, because their presence enriches us and makes us better. So thank you, Christina. Thank you for all the organizers putting this together. I hope that this is not only the first annual one of the New Americans here, but that this grows and that we see these expos happening all over our state. Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, everywhere we have New Americans joining us in Maryland, we want to have it so that it's available and nearby them. So I look forward to seeing this and anything we can do to help to facilitate that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. And you are so right. We hope the same thing, and I know that Christina is working very hard toward the goal of that. This is the first, but not the last. So stay tuned. And we were having a nice conversation with Bruce a few minutes before about how many events starts like this. It is a tough and difficult moment to start, but then grow, and it is always like that. So. Again, Christina, thank you for this effort, and please your closing remarks and your invitation for Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Montgomery County, to put this together for all of us to spread the word. And despite the weather, Sunday is going to be a great day. It seems that it's not going to be raining. At least the storm is not going to be here. So we're inviting everybody to come from noon to 6 p.m. The inauguration is at 2 o'clock. We are going to have our executive, Leggett, coming, Ana Sol Gutierrez. We are having Tina Clark also, the African-American lady who's worked with Martin Luther King. We're having a Native American chief, Dick Church, he's coming too. We have leaders from the Middle Eastern communities, Asian communities, African communities, and Latino communities coming. So we're all together. At 2 o'clock is the inauguration, right? So welcome to be here on Sunday. Thank you.